Post the Pahalgam terror attack, India has launched a series of measures to put pressure on Pakistan and to make Pakistan understand that these kind of terror attacks, its nature of aiding and abetting terror, will no longer be accepted by the Indian state. Now, it started with a slew of diplomatic measures, offensive, and one of them, which it seems has pinched Pakistan the most, is the Indus Water Treaty. India has suspended the treaty from their side and has also threatened that if this doesn't stop, it will definitely stop the waters. It will do whatever it can to ensure that Pakistan is penalized. Now, what is the Indus Water Treaty? Which are the rivers which form the Indus Water Treaty? Who is authorized to use water of which river, and basically the technicalities, because the common man, the layman, needs to know. It has a lot of technicalities around it, but just to ensure that we put it out in layman's language, we have with us Mr. Ajaz Rasool, who is a retired bureaucrat. He was the executive director once upon a time and knows more about Kashmir, Jammu Kashmir's water bodies, rivers than anyone else. Sir, thank you so much for talking to us, taking time out. And in fact, we found it fitting to be on a boat in the Jhelum just to ensure that the complete thing we managed to do while being in the Jhelum, which is one of the rivers that is in the news because of the IWT. Sir, first, we want to know about the Indus Water Treaty, just to ensure that our viewers understand what it is, whom it is favoring more, India or Pakistan.
See, this is an international treaty that was drawn in 1960 between the two prime ministers of the two countries, India and Pakistan. And this was drafted and arbitrated by United Nations organization. So this is an international treaty, and both the parties are bound to have its all clauses looked into and follow them. But now, since India has decided to put this treaty in abeyance, there are certain questions that arise that what is going to happen to this Indus Water Treaty and how it's going to affect the two countries. We know that Indus Water Treaty actually is governing the judicious use and the optimum use of water of Indus, Jhelum and Sindh basins and Chenab basin. So these are the western rivers which contribute flow to Chenab and Jhelum and Ladakh UT also. And in 1960, most of it was used for irrigation. That time the hydroelectric power generation systems were not there in both the countries. So Pakistan also was using it. So it has two components. There's a component of natural water. We are about 135 million acre feet of water per year flows because of the snow melt and glacier melt and precipitation in the catchments of Chenab and Jhelum and Ladakh UT. And this water flows through different tributaries of River Jhelum, through River Jhelum. And then this River Jhelum carries all this water down up to Shadipora, where it is joined by the Indus River, Sindh River we call it. And thereafter it goes down to Wooler Lake, where Jhelum enters the Wooler Lake. And then it emanates out of the Wooler Lake, goes to Udi, and then it goes into rapids. You have a flatter slope up here in the city. It's a bowl-shaped valley that we have. But down after Udi, it goes into rapids and then crosses the line of control towards the other side.
So basically you're saying that Jhelum and then Sindhu Nadi, or Indus as they call it, and Chenab, these form the western rivers.
Yes,
and out of these western rivers, obviously Jhelum flows from Kashmir mostly, then Sindhu mostly from Ladakh, and then converges with Jhelum, I think. And the source of Jhelum is South Kashmir glaciers, Verinag, etc.
Yes. The entire Pir Panchal range is contributing towards Jhelum, though it comes out of the Verinag spring. But then there are high altitude lakes like where the Veshore, Embera and all those, Lidar, we have the Kolhai Glacier, and we have the Shishnag Lake, we have the Konsarnag Lake. These outflow all into the tributaries of River Jhelum and contribute to the...
So right now we are voting on the composite, the final or the source of or basically all these tributaries come together as they call it Sangam. It happens here in the Jhelum, and this is the final flow.
No, this is not the final. This is still lacking the Sindh water, which we will join it downstream at Shadipora. And then Sindh water and Jhelum both flow together to Wooler Lake.
So you're saying that Sindhu or Indus comes down from Gurez to Shadipura in Bandipura, and then Jhelum also from this side touches it or converges with it in Shadipura, and then they flow to Wooler and then finally to Pakistan.
That's right. And Chenab is on the other side in the Kishtawar region. That is also Western River. And Chenab Basin has significant power projects right now, which are going on there. Okuldal is there. Then Bagliar is there. Sawalkot is there. And those projects are in the advanced stage of their finalization, and they are generating some power, and they also have storage capacities. That is very important, because if Indus Water Treaty is to be used to store more water than assigned under the treaty, then those are the only storages that are available which can be used to store water, and especially in lean times, the water from those storages is not released.
So now, if I tell you, sir, ki out of these three rivers that obviously Pakistan has complete authority to use water from, which river do you think now when India says that it can stop water to Pakistan, so which of these three rivers is the most feasible where you can create storage and can do it quickly?
Immediately it can be done on Chenab, because Chenab already has the storage sites of the hydroelectric projects there, and they are underutilizing that. We have a very minuscule thing from the natural waters. We have about 3.86 million acre feet of water that we are using in Chenab Basin and Jhelum Basin for our hydroelectric scheme. In Chenab we have the storages, and in Jhelum we have the run-of-the-river schemes here.
Right.
So in the run-of-the-river scheme system on Kashmir side, we do not have much storage, excepting the buffer storage at Wooler, which also has gone down because of the siltation. We had lost about 30% of the volumetric capacity. And in 2014 floods, when all the debris and culverts that were broken and the villages that were washed out, all that debris has flown to Wooler Lake, and they have filled that Wooler Lake.
Right. So when you say that Chenab can be utilized, because already there are certain power projects which have reservoirs or dams. So if we want to do it on, say, Chenab, how much time will it take?
Chenab can be done very quickly, because they are in the advanced stage of their completion. And if they accelerate the storage sites there, then they can store more water that is allowed under regulation to be stored there. And in that case, if it is done in the lean period, then Pakistan will have problem for their sowing season, where they use the water for the agriculture. That time they are dependent on that water, and if we do more than the regulation that is allowed there, then certainly they will suffer on that.
Sir, you spoke about Wooler Barrage. We know Kishan Ganga, which is known as Neelam on the other side. India has made a power project there, and then there was also an attempt to make a Wooler Barrage, which obviously is something that stopped in 2012 because there was a gunman, most probably militants came here in big numbers, stopped the project, fired or used explosives at the site. So it's quite clear that already there has been a confrontationary point as far as that project is concerned. We've been also told that it is in arbitration, probably.
Yes, two aberrations of the Indus Water Treaty are right now being adjudicated by the Hague and Oslo courts, international courts. One is the Wooler Barrage, which was actually the Tulbul navigation project, where government had thought of making a barrage and store water in Wooler Lake, which would be utilized for the lean periods for generating of the power downstream in the Udi 1, Udi 2 hydroelectric power projects that we have there. But they, took that as something which is against the treaty, and they went to the court for adjudication. And once this arbitration was going on, in that area, they used the force, the other methods, to have it thwarted through militants and all that.
And since it's not...
Then it has not been done. After that, only some irrigation project was done by making bunds, flood control bunds, but that is not creating that much storage which can go against the Indus Water Treaty or do favor us for complete generation of 500 megawatts of installed capacity in Uri 1 and Uri 2. Now, so far as the Kishanganga is concerned in Gurez, the Kishanganga waters are carried through a tunnel across the natural catchment divide, and then there is a powerhouse at Athwatu, and the powerhouse waters, the tail race of that flows down to Vuller. Again, that was objected by the other side, saying that this is again an aberration of Indus Water Treaty, because water cannot be taken across the natural catchment divide. So that also is right now in the Oslo court being adjudicated.
There are basically two matters in the international court on IW2 right now.
Absolutely, they are resting there, and the decision on that has yet to come. So when the decision will come on that, that will be done. But since this thing has been kept in abeyance, now whatever small, there are other things also like small aberrations where you have day-to-day rapid and right decisions or other things which come up for being talked and decided by the two countries. But since it has been now in abeyance, there won't be any resolution of those small issues.
So the other day, Pakistan alleged that India released water without informing them, and that led to a flood-like emergency situation in POK areas like Chakoti, Muzaffarabad and periphery. Is that possible? Because as of now, no reaction has come from the Indian government. But is it possible to do it for?
Technically, it is possible because right now we have the full supply levels in our river, and full supply river is carrying much more water right now. So if we instead of sending the regulated flow, if we control our 4-bay tanks and other tanks, and we suddenly release water in the tail race of Uri 1 and Uri 2, then certainly that can cause some floods in Chakoti.
So that can happen.
That can happen technically, but I don't think that has been yet done.
Okay. And talking of Liberian rights, lower Liberian state and upper Liberian state, obviously these are technical points, but we want to break it down for our viewers. India has the upper Liberian rights and Pakistan the lower. But in this scenario, you also have China, which already it seems that Pakistan is trying to leverage that particular aspect, where they say that if India does it, their friend China could do similar things in northeast, like choking the Brahmaputra and trying to create storage there and denying India water from that side. Is that possible?
Well, these are the speculations which are possible, and they can be done, because China is also a party in the utilization of the water of Indus Basin because of the CPAC project, in which they have launched certain projects in Muzaffarabad, the hydroelectric projects, the storage projects which they are doing there, and those have been funded by China, and crores of rupees have been spent on those. So they would not like any indulgence in that or something that will go against the successful implementation of those projects. In fact, we are told that they are even guarding those projects in the...
So you're saying that more than the friendship and other things, it is Chinese interest at stake, their funding, their assets?
Of course, CPAC is their prime project, and that's a very important project so far as the China is concerned, and they would not like any indulgence in that.
What can they do in the northeast?
No, this is speculation that in case something is done which hits the CPAC, which is the Chinese project, then they can go in retaliation, and they can also divert waters in the northeast, like in Brahmaputra and all, can be diverted, and they already have huge storage sites available where they can take the water from Brahmaputra, and that will certainly affect the overall.
So obviously it seems that it is far more complicated than what it looks like, because obviously this is something that definitely has pinched Pakistan, because if you see last few days, while there were other measures that were taken, but they did not react on that. But when it comes to water, choking water, be it the Prime Minister, the army, top generals, the opposition, they have been very aggressive, saying that this will be met by war. If they stop our water, they'll have to face war. Pakistan will do anything to protect their interests. So, do you think they're flustered? Because
you see, it's not possible so easily. We do not have any infrastructure on the Jhelum Basin in Ladakh UT and Jammu and Kashmir UT. We don't have any storage sites here. There is a project of flood recovery being made by IPTISA of Spain for a vision plan to how to handle the aquatic ecology of River Jhelum in this area. And they have, in that project, they have thought of having certain storages on the tributaries of River Jhelum, which can be used to store water and they release water during the lean period when there is shortage of water due to drought and all. But that project has yet to come up. That's only in the stage of formulation of the detailed project reports. And that will be a prelude to the water policy of how water has to be utilized in an optimum manner in Jammu and Kashmir, and that also may require revision of the Indus Water Treaty, because right now the 135 million acre feet of natural waters that is flowing in Jhelum from Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh side, that most of it is going to Pakistan straight away.
Exactly, that was my next question, that who is benefiting from this treaty? So if we put it in percentages out of 100, do you think around 70-80% it's beneficial to Pakistan and India is a loser in this?
85 to 90% it is beneficial to Pakistan right now, because that time when this treaty was drawn, the only demand was of agriculture. The hydroelectric power thing was not there. But now they have the Mangla Dam and the other Tarbela Dam where they can, though they don't store up to the optimum that is they can store, but this 135 will continue flowing to them unless you have storages in the Jhelum Basin on this side or Chenab on this side. So immediately, as I told you, in Chenab there is possibility of regulating the flow, doing some regulation in the more than that is being apportioned to us under
Very little scope as far as Jhelum.
Yes, here we need an infrastructure that has to come up, and that will take a lot of years.
What about the eastern rivers like Ravi, Beas, Satluj? Because it seems to the layman that it's like 3 rivers given to Pakistan, 3 to, so it's a fair thing.
Those are the regulated apportionment where India has been given an apportion of the regulated flows to be used for, and that India is using, though under capacity. India may increase the capacity and use it to the full extent. But if the treaty is kept in abeyance like this and things don't improve, then certainly they will have the release of water from those particular eastern rivers will also affect water availability in drinking, in irrigation, in hydroelectric potential in Pakistan.
And lastly, it seems that if you look at it threadbare, IWT, the worst sufferer is Jammu and Kashmir or Kashmir Valley.
Definitely we are the worst sufferers, though we are at the upstream side of this thing, and we are not able to use our own water that is generated here, and 135 million acre feet of water annually flows down straight to Pakistan, and they can take maximum advantage out of it. We can only use about 3.86 million cubic acre feet of water from that particular thing for our run of the river schemes. But we feel that we have a hydroelectric potential of 20,000 megawatts here, which requires storages here now. So this policy has to be revised. In fact, this was also on the anvil that after all this water policy things are settled, then there may be a reconsideration of the apportioning of water under the Indus Water Treaty.
Thank you so much, sir. That was very detailed. So that was Mr. Ijaz Rasool, who broke it point by point, and in layman's term, if I have to explain it now, it definitely is advantage Pakistan when it comes to the IWT. How it has been shaped, signed, obviously it is these waters benefit Pakistan. They use maximum or around 80% they have benefited out of it, and India obviously is using lesser proportions. So this treaty quite clearly is favoring Pakistan, and this is why India, since it has decided to suspend it and probably also think of options where it can choke water, it can stop water. So this is something that is pinching Pakistan. There's no doubt about it, because they have reacted to it in a very aggressive way. Be it the politicians, the army generals, the opposition, they're all one, saying that if that happens, obviously that is a declaration of war from India. But to leverage this, really on the ground, it will require India to have massive infrastructure, and if Mr. Rasool is to be believed, it is the Chenab River where India can do it quickly, because they already have some power projects that they have made. There are already some reservoirs, and it is on Chenab that they can quickly expand that infrastructure to have more water or more say as far as that river is concerned. But if you want to do it on Indus and on Jhelum, then it will take a lot of time, lot of money, lot of infrastructure, and it can take many years to have that kind of infrastructure where you can really use it to put Pakistan under some real pressure. As of now, it seems to be more of a symbolic move, but even that, it seems, has obviously ruffled quite a few feathers on the other side. Then it is China angle also that India cannot ignore, because China is also a major player in this. So quite a many things, and it is quite a complicated issue if you go deep into it. But as of now, quite clearly, if India has to really seriously think of using this or leveraging this, they'll have to build massive infrastructure to either divert or store water, and then obviously they'll be in a position to impact or play or have the elbow room to pressurize Pakistan into stopping what India feels doing right now, which is aiding and abetting terror in India, and especially in Jammu and Kashmir. With camp person Muzaffar Ahmed, Meet Fareed, Srinagar for India Today.